Good boy, Tucker.
Welcome, everybody.
Welcome.
Hey.
Welcome.
Work smarter where you want.
Consistency is key.
And remember, if it's not in Redtail, it never happened.
This is learning at its most fun.
Welcome, everyone, to today's Redtail webinar. We're doing a Redtail Essentials today on managing your account and database lists. So we'll be looking specifically at the Manage Your Account section and talking mostly about database level setup, but we'll dive into preferences as well. So without further ado, we will jump into the database. And here, we're going to go under our name in the top right-hand corner. Whenever you're thinking database level management type items or preferences, like how you want to see your calendar or what page you want the CRM to open when you first log in, think under your name. Anytime you're thinking about behind the scenes level information, it's going to be under your name in the top right-hand corner there. All right, so under your name, let's go to manage your account. A lot of the options that you see under your name actually are under manage your account as well. So under my name, I can see preferences. It's right here, change site preferences. We're going to see manage your integrations. That's under here as well, manage integrations. So really just go straight to the source, to the manage your account section, and then you'll get everything that you're able to affect change for. So let's start at the top. Under change site preferences, these are all the things that you as a user can set specifically for your own login. So personally, when I log in, I love to see the calendar immediately show me what's going on just for the entire month because I'm that crazy. But for you, you might want to see the today page or a week view. A lot of advisors like to pull up the market news page or the note dashboard, the contacts dashboard. You pick and choose here what matters. If you're very into prospecting, you might want to choose the opportunity tracker or reports or seminar management if you're currently hosting an event. So keep all that in mind. The session timeout, by default, we set it to 10 minutes. Go ahead and switch that over to all day. If you're going to be logged in for most of the day, all day means 12 hours. So we like to say if you log into Redtail and you're in the office for 12 hours and Redtail ends up timing out, that means you've been in the office for 12 hours and didn't work in Redtail. It's time to go home. But it's also very useful if you're going to go away for lunch and you don't want to have to log back in, you can set this to all day. For any new users, make sure that the time zone is set to the time zone that you're in. You want to definitely make sure that the time zone is correct for you as a user. Even if you have users in multiple time zones, these preferences are specific to the person who's logged in. I'm not going to go through every single preference in this page. I'm going to point out some of my favorites, some popular preferences that we see users talk about, like the default calendar view. Maybe you want to see it in day, week, or month view. And then when your calendar starts. So around the Redtail office, most of us start at 5 a.m. Pacific time. We're open 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific time. But I like to say the developers start around 10. Just depends on when your day starts and you want your day to begin on the calendar page for week and month or week and day view. This month view shows everything no matter what. Default calendar time slots are pretty self-explanatory. And then there's a bunch of options to default to show different items. So this is the most popular option, default to show completed activities. Once you mark an activity completed, it can either disappear from your calendar or you can choose that it continues to show, and on the calendar page, you can make it a different color. It just depends on your preference. If you want it out of your sight, out of mind after it's been completed, or if you want it to stick around. Bunch of calendar preferences there. And one of my favorites is the default activity type. The default activity type is the most common activity type that you're going to be entering. If you're an admin and you schedule a lot of appointments, go ahead and select appointment. If you're someone who does a lot of internal tasks, consider making task your default activity type as well. And then anytime you go to add an activity, it will pull up your default activity type. On the contact record, you can choose to hide or show the majority of a contact's social security number. So if you have a reception desk, that might be where the screen's visible to someone in the office, you can hide that tax ID number, and then the full social security number won't show when a contact record is displaying. And with client notes, do you prefer to see all notes when looking at notes on a contact record, or maybe only note type of notes? And anytime you change any of these preferences, go ahead and click any of the Save Preferences green buttons here. We made sure to add enough of them so that one is always on your screen wherever you are on the Preferences page. Next is notification options. So this really speaks to type A personalities like myself. I like to be notified when anything happens in the database that affects me. So I'm going to get email notifications for all of these possible scenarios. If you find that you're getting too many notifications or they're not useful to you, you can come in here and set these to no. What's great about these is when you're going to add an activity, if I were adding an activity for another user in my database, it will let me know if their preference is set to no. So on the right-hand side of the activity, it will say, will receive updates for completed and updated activities, but maybe they're not going to get an update for assigned activities. And then you can use the team notify to notify them and override their preference. And then if you ever want to set up an alert sound, you can set up our default, which is a bell ringing, because the alerts pop up under this bell icon. Or if you're familiar with Redtail culture, you can definitely turn on a small dog bark or a large dog bark as well. Just check your volume when you turn on the large dog bark, because we've definitely heard of customers falling out of their chair because all of a sudden a large dog bark came from somewhere in the office. Dashboard reminders, those show on your Today page under reminders, and you can choose to see how far in advance you want to see birthdays. Anywhere from 365 days in advance to just 1 day in advance, depending on what you're looking to see and how far or short in advance you want to view those items. And then past due as well. And the same goes for client reviews down below. We've now come to my absolute favorite feature in preferences, searching. This is the search auto redirect feature. And what this means, if set to yes, is if I type in the search up here and I type in something that only one possible contact meets the criteria for, and I click enter, it doesn't take me to the search page, it takes me directly to Dolly's record. So it saves me an extra click, whereas if I'd searched something like Henry, where I might have multiple Henrys, it's going to pull up multiple Henrys. But if I search Henry Jones, then it's going to take me directly to Henry Jones's record. So a very small value add, but in the course of your day, searching multiple contacts, the clicks really do add up, and this will save you several clicks under your preferences if you turn on that search auto redirect. The next box we come to is the email section. I'm not going to go into too much detail here. Actually, I'm not going to go over this section really at all because we have other videos and other webinars on how to set up your broadcast email. That's the ability to send emails from within Redtail to multiple contact records. And it sends through your current email provider. So this section is where you set up the SMTP or email preferences that are needed for us to be able to send emails through that email server from Redtail. Just like you send emails from Outlook through an email server, it's the same idea here. You're going to send emails from within Redtail, but they still go through your email provider. Reports. So this is where you can add a disclosure or a display name to any of your reports to kind of put your the business name on the report itself, and then add that necessary compliance required disclosure. And you can print it on a separate page. So any Redtail reports from the contact record will then include your custom disclosure statement. And then at the very bottom are miscellaneous preferences. So for the market watch list, you can add stock symbols here, and then it will track the specific values of stocks that you're looking to add. So you can type those in, and it gives an example here for Starbucks, Google, Facebook, and you can add whichever ones you're looking to track. And then for searching, there's a couple different options if you want to be able to combine contacts or complete a bulk action without it sending to a job on our server. So you can come in here and set them to the largest numbers available, 500 contacts, and then anything under 500 contacts will download to your computer, and it won't generate on our servers and then add itself to your Dropbox and manage your account. So if you ever do run a larger report, then you'll get a notification that says this will be available in your Dropbox. We'll email you when it's ready, and that's going to be under your name and manage your account. And that's down here at the bottom, Dropbox files and database backups. So it's a good little segue to bring us back to the manage your account page that we started on. And like I mentioned, I'm not going to go through every single item here. We definitely spent a lot of time in change site preferences. And let's dip into manage integrations just for a minute. So manage your integrations is going to show most of Redtail's available integrations. And they'll either be under the enabled tab or the disabled tab if you've had some turned off for your database. Now I say that this shows most available integrations. It does not show all the available integrations because some integrations are set up behind the scenes. So if you don't see an integration partner listed here or you don't see a company listed here, always feel free to reach out to our support team or go to redtailtechnology.com and select our partners page to see if we integrate with a certain company. The most popular integrations that don't show on this page would include custodians or account aggregators because those send accounts behind the scenes. They're not going to have a user interface side for you to see that integration. But I would recommend that everyone in your office go ahead and jump in here and turn on or off the integrations that you're going to be specifically using, because when you turn the integrations off that you're not using, they will no longer show under this integrations icon up here in the top right-hand corner. So you're creating an ease of use case for yourself in the database. You're making this list shorter and more dynamic and catered to how you specifically use the CRM. We're going to jump back over to manage your account. And the next two options here, manage team notices, are reminders that cycle through on your today page. You can add more here or delete old ones. That's how you go ahead and manage those. And then as a team, you can set web links, or another term that you might be familiar with is bookmarks. The web links are available under your name in the top right-hand corner and web links. So if I have links to Allbridge or Investment News or any other websites that I want to be able to quickly access, you can add those under Manage Web Links, under Manage Your Account, or straight here from the Web Links page as well. Those broadcast email preferences, when you send a broadcast email, this is where you can manage how those emails are sent, which ones completed, what emails failed to send, and why. And there's a whole management section in here that's pretty awesome, so I recommend checking that out. Templates, we're just going to breeze through the templates. These are different places in the CRM where you can set up standardized templates for custom exports. That's an Excel spreadsheet where you get to select what fields get exported and in what order they're exported. Email templates, mail merge templates. A mail merge is a Word document that you're going to generate for one or more contacts at a time, and it'll pull in their personal information, like their name, their phone number, that type of information. And then emails you can mass send through that broadcast email feature. So once they've sent, you manage them here. But before you send them, you can build templates for newsletters and etc. there. And then workflow templates. Workflows are those larger processes that are too much for our calendar to handle. And the workflow templates live in this section. So if you do client reviews on a regular basis, you would have a template for a client review, and then you may open up that client review for Dolly Parton when she's due for her review. Admins only. So this header lets us know that only admins in your database can access this section. But how do you know who's an admin? If I'm logged in as a user and I'm an admin, I can go to Manage Database Users and Teams, and this will let me know who else in my database has access to this section. So our user management page is going to give me everyone's usernames. So if you're an admin and anyone else forgets their username, you can come in here and provide it to them. I'm sure that never happens, but just in case, you can always come in here. Let's say that Clark forgot his password. I can change his password. First, it's going to ask me for my password, and then I'm going to put in a new password for Clark. So you do have the ability to come in here and change passwords for other users if needed. Or in the case that an employee is no longer going to work for you for whatever reason, you can come in here and change their password prior to them leaving so they can't come in after leaving and manipulate data. There's a lot more to this page, but we do have another video, other areas in the help desk that go over more in-depth options. So we're going to head back over to manage your account, because the page that I really want to get to for today's webinar is called Manage Database Lists. Manage Database List is where you set the foundation for organization in your database. So this page is a list of all the lists that you have the ability to add to or edit within Redtail. For most of the lists, we do give you one or two system types that are going to be the standard or they have to be in your database. When it comes to account types, we have a lot of standard account types, but you may have like a 403B account type that you want to add, and I can tell that this one has been added because I have the ability to edit this option. If you don't have the ability to edit, like the 401k activity or account type, that means that it's a system type and it can't be deleted or manipulated. So in terms of contact management, because that's what we are, is a contact management system, we always want to start high level. When we're talking about contacts, the very first question you might have when you go to a contact record is, what is my business's relationship with this contact? And the answer to that is going to be found in their status. So I'm going to come over here under contacts to statuses. And our statuses are going to be very high level. You want to keep them high level and mutually exclusive. So according to my list, no one can be an active client and deceased at the same time. It's either one or the other. You can also look at this as a representation of your client lifecycle. First, they're a lead, then they're a prospect, then they're an active client, then they only leave one of two ways. They pass away, or they become inactive for another reason. And then all the other statuses encompass those important people in my clients' lives, like their spouses, any dependents that they have. I might have some personal contacts in here, family, friends. They're not contacts, but I might want to keep them in the database. And then businesses. So the businesses are going to encompass vendors like Redtail Technology, or it's going to encompass your clients' employers. Those are businesses that are going to be records within your database. So maintaining clean data involves giving everyone in your database all the contacts an assigned status. Statuses give you amazing reporting and searching capabilities. So now I can actively see how many active clients I have with one simple search. And categories are going to build on your status. So the second tier, our relationship with the contact is defined via the status. We're going to build on that definition using categories. We do have some sample database lists, so don't feel like yours have to look exactly like this either. You might have different terminology that you use in your office. Maybe you call prospects suspects instead of prospects. That's totally up to you. And then attached to the recorded version of this webinar, we are going to have our sample database list as well. So we do have this PDF document that gives you a great place to get started with statuses and categories within the system. As you can tell by looking at this document, we go beyond status and category. We give suggestions for keywords and interests as well, and we'll get to those in just a minute in this webinar, but definitely want to highlight the contact status and the contact category possibilities for your office. And any of these items that have an asterisk, that means that those are Redtail system defaults and cannot be edited or deleted. So we do go ahead and tie those into your process. So the not specified status, when you look at that status, that should be a red flag that this contact needs an assigned status. That highlights that each of these words, each of these statuses means more than just active client or business or deceased. And we actually have a style guide where you can make definitions for each of these terms that help people in your office remain on the same page when it comes to what a status really means for you, your own office. So let's look at that style guide. So the style guide is going to be here. This is an example of a Redtail completed style guide, and we went ahead and give definitions to what a lead is. So for my office, a lead is a contact that we have information for, but we haven't had any interaction with them yet. So I have a phone number, maybe I bought this from a lead list or some kind of marketing list, but I haven't actually reached out. A prospect is someone who I've had some kind of interaction with. So if they call and I bring up their record, I can say, oh, from our last communication, and I definitely had communication with them before. Active client means we have some kind of account held for them. It doesn't really give me any more information here for my office, but maybe I don't need more information. And then the not specified needs assigned status. So that's an indication that we have to figure out who this person is and what their relationship is to my business. And then we go further and give the categories definitions. So if I have an active client, they may have a category of A, AA, or AAA. And for my office, that means they have under $100,000 in assets that I manage, or a range of 100K to 500K. And this can be a different scale based on your business. We do recommend giving the categories that are not easily deciphered by clients. So just in case they see your screen or your iPad, they don't see that they're a bronze or a silver client or a B or a C or a D client. So if you can use AAA, AAA, or maybe colors to color code them. I once had an office use red for clients who were on fixed income, green if they were advancing their income and they were at the beginning of their career, and yellow if they were kind of in the middle of their career and their income wasn't going to be advancing very much. So instead of a traditional ranking system, he could easily tell who was advancing and who was on a fixed income, because they might not have the same investment goals. It would be based on their income at that time. A popular example that Redtail always gives is another office decided to use mountain ranges. So one mountain range meant a certain level of assets. And when the client walked in the door, they would say, "Oh, you're part of our Sierra Nevada client book of business." And the client would go, "Yeah." And that meant C client, but the client never knew. So, and then my final example, because I have to talk about dogs. I work at Redtail. If we were an advisory firm, we would have golden retrievers, Labradors, and German Shepherds. And that would be our way to tier out our clients. So definitely insert your office's personality into the database. And don't think of this as just boring organization, but inserting your personality into the system to make it mean more to you. How do those statuses and categories work together? Well, we've got the style guide that goes on to talk more about what statuses work with what categories. So a lead can have a warm, a cold, or a lost category. A prospect can have a hot, a cold, a lost, or a pending. An active client can be A, AA, AAA, or even a personal client. A spouse of a client is typically, in my database, they're going to have the same category as the head of the household. And that's because for my office, I want to be able to search all my spouses of AAA clients, and they get a certain birthday gift, whereas my spouses of AA clients maybe only get a birthday card. So the more purposeful you are with your status and category assignments, the greater your capability is to search and filter them via that information. Now, if you're looking at this and going, oy vey, I don't want to set this up for my database, or where do I even begin? We do have a Word document, and this document, this completed style guide, will be available on the recorded version of this webinar as well. But we do have a Word document to help you get started. So we're going to send this over. It's going to be attached to the recorded version of this webinar, and if you're attending it live, then we'll send it to you. And this is where you can sit down with your team and determine what are our statuses? What are the relationships that we have with the contacts in our database? Okay, what are the categories that go with those statuses, and what do those mean to us? This is not necessary for every database. A lot of times this is only needed when you have 5 or more people in the office, and keeping everyone on the same page has become something that you're all aware of, and it's necessary to write everything down and get everyone on the same page. And as you can see, our templated style guide goes a lot further than status and category. We even go so far as to give keywords different labels and activity types and categories as well. Because being dynamic and effective and purposeful with your activities and your calendar management is just as important as being purposeful with your contact records. We're going to head back over to the CRM, and we've now looked at statuses and categories. Now, if we're talking about database level organization, I'm always going to start with status, and then we're going to go to category. That's not a lot of info. If I have a status in a category, all I know is they're an active client and they have $100,000 in assets under management with me. What if I want to know what type of services they subscribe to with my business? Are they a 401k participant? Are they a brokerage client? Are they fee-based? Are they hourly? The third level of organization is going to be a keyword. And what's great about keywords is with a status, you can only have one at a time. A category, you can only have one at a time. A keyword, that's an if applicable field. You can have as many keywords on a contact record as you need. That's awesome. So I might be a client that is investment advisory. I have life insurance. I'm a retirement client. I'm a tax client. You can label the client with all of the applicable keywords, and they're searchable by all of them. So imagine your website. You've got a list of products and services. This is where those products and services go. So that when you are searching within your database, you can say, I want to see all my active clients that are fee-based. And then from there, you can email them or filter them further and see how many of them are triple A's or double A's. And you really enhance the ability to report on and see what the makeup of your book of business is. Maybe you have a service that only 2 people subscribe to. Maybe you want to email everyone that doesn't subscribe to that or doesn't use that product or service, and then you don't have to email the people that already do use it. Keywords are searchable labels on the contact record. So the most important thing we recommend them for is your products and services, but you can also use them to track different things you want to know about your clients. Maybe you have clients that cancel often and you want to be aware of that. You can definitely label them. Maybe they have a will on file. You want to see all of your clients who have a will on file with you. They might not, a lot of clients sometimes don't have email addresses. You can add a do not email keyword to their record. And that way, when you're looking at their record and see that there's a missing email, the keyword will indicate that there's a reason for that. They don't have an email address, or they don't want you to have their email address for whatever reason. If your office is big into events or certain outings, you can keep track of who might be interested in those events. I had an office I was working with one time, and we got into their keywords, and bocce ball was in their keywords. And I said, oh, no. That's not a popular sport. That doesn't have to be a keyword. And the lady I was talking to came back and said, well, what do you mean it's not popular? We have a bocce ball court at our office. For them, that's a keyword. They definitely need to know who of their clients is interested in bocce ball, because that's really a part of their office's culture. For most offices, you're going to see the popular types of events for advisory practices, your wine, golf, football's becoming a bigger one, that type of information. So you might see who's interested in those events. And then any special holidays. If someone celebrates a certain holiday, you can keep track of that in here as well. The fourth level of organization for contacts is the catch-all field, and that's under user-defined fields. So you're the user, and you get to define the field. Now, I'm not a developer by any means. That's why I love being a trainer, because I do not understand everything behind the code. But the user-defined fields is where you get to play developer. You get to say, Redtail doesn't have this field, but I want it for my database. So you get to come in here and add that field. So we have some suggestions: alma mater, cookie preference, some silly ones, some fun ones. We can do if they've gone through like a Dave Ramsey type program, or a military service branch is a big one, especially if your advisor served in the military. It's great to know when a client also served. And you can actually define what type of field these are too. So in the case of military service branch, if that were in any text field, if a client served in the Army, I might type in Army. But if my grandpa was typing in the value there, he would say greatest branch of the United States military, and that would create inconsistent data. If I wanted to see everyone that served in the Army, I would then have to find everyone that had Army or greatest branch of the United States military, and it would be very disorganized. So instead, since there's only a select number of options for this field, it's been created as a list of values. And when someone fills out this field, they have to select one of the possible values here. So what that looks like when you add it is you add military service branch, and then you would select list of values, and it gives you the ability to go ahead and add those values. So if you have a client intake form and you ask for certain personal information, maybe their pet's name, maybe the best time that they would be available for phone calls or appointments, or what their gift preference is, those are all great options to put into your user-defined fields. And then if you're looking to record business level information, like when they should be taking their RMD or if they took their required minimum distribution, you can also keep track of those types of fields within the user-defined field section here. There are two user-defined fields on the right-hand side. One is under contacts and the other one is under accounts. So while you can add a user-defined field on the contact level, like their pet's name or dessert preference or coffee preference, how they like whatever beverage they like when they come in the office, you can also add an account user-defined field, like maybe the commission amount on that account. Or if you want to be more detailed with your RMDs, you can add the RMD taken from that specific account and build a history within those user-defined fields. So those are the most popular lists on the Manage Database List page: your status, your category, your keywords, your user-defined fields. But anytime you have multiple advisors in the office, or even if you just have one advisor and you might have an admin, you can also create options in your servicing advisor list and your writing advisor list so that that's filled out on the contact record. Maybe the person who's currently the point of contact for that client needs to be designated as one advisor, and then the person who's writing the agreements or writing the materials for that contact is going to be the writing advisor. But don't feel like you have to use our definitions for servicing and writing advisor. On your style sheet or your style guide, you can create a definition for what servicing advisor means to you and your office as well. So any of the fields in Redtail, definitely put your own spin on them and put your own personality in there. I do want to touch on activity types and activity categories because it's a really important way to organize the information that you're putting into your database. So I know as a trainer, most of my day is made up of trainings. This is a webinar training. Most of an advisor's day might be appointments. So you're going to have an activity type for appointment. This is one of our system types. But if you want to keep track of specific types of appointments, maybe you have 3 prospect appointments that prospects go through before they're onboarded as a client. Then you can add activity types for prospect meeting number 1. And then add prospect meeting number 2 and 3. And then on a contact record, when they're a prospect, you can easily tell where they're at in the prospect process because they have a prospect meeting number 2 appointment completed on their contact record, but they don't have a number 3 scheduled yet. The activity type is the medium of the appointment. Is this a face-to-face? Is this a webinar? Is this in person? Are they coming into my office? Or is it a remote session where I'm going maybe to a local coffee shop to meet with them? Is it a personal appointment? Is it a holiday? Is it a phone call? You can add email in here. You can use task. It's the medium of the appointment. On an activity, you also have the option to select a category, and that's the subject of the activity. So, am I going to meet with this client for a client review? Is this just a customer service task? Is this a prospecting item that I need to work on, or a staff meeting? And again, these are all on that sample database list page that I referenced at the beginning of this webinar that's available to you on the recorded version. I'm going to scroll down just a bit further and touch on your opportunity stages and seminar statuses, both of those lists. If you're looking to start using opportunities or seminars, keep in mind that you do have customizable lists that apply to those different items. And we have webinars that go through what's an opportunity and all about that. But know that the list can only be altered by admins on this Manage Database List page. All right, so just to recap, manage your account was the topic for today's webinar. Anytime you're looking for database level setup or altering user preferences, you're going to go under your name to manage your account. And that's going to be this section where you can add templates, access database level setup information, and change items like your default calendar view or your default login page.
Thanks so much for joining us today for this particular session. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call at 800-206-5030, option 3 for support, or just shoot us an email over to support@redtailtechnology.com. Thanks a lot and have a great day.